Hello everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into a crucial aspect of data privacy, GDPR Article 13. This isn't just about legal jargon, it's about a fundamental principle that underpins trust in the digital age. As our slide says, transparency is not just a buzzword, it's a fundamental right. We're here to talk about your data, your rights, and our responsibility to protect them. Specifically, we'll explore what information organizations must provide when they collect your personal data directly from you. Now, let's get into the specifics. Article 13 breaks down the required information into two main parts. First, Article 13(1) outlines what you must provide at the time of collection. This is the before you collect, inform rule. You need to tell people who you are and how to reach you. This means the identity and contact details of your organization, the controller, and if you have one, the contact details of your data protection officer, or DPO. Why you're collecting the data and your legal justification. This is crucial. What are the purposes for processing the data, for example, to process your order or to send you marketing emails? And what's your legal basis for doing so? Is it because you have their consent, or is it necessary for a contract, or perhaps a legitimate interest? If you're relying on legitimate interests, you need to clearly state what those specific legitimate interests are. Who else gets the data? You must identify the recipients or categories of recipients. Are you sharing it with a third-party payment processor, or perhaps a marketing analytics provider? Be clear. And finally, if you're sending data outside the EU/EEA to a third country or international organization, you need to state that, and explain the safeguards in place, like an adequacy decision or standard contractual clauses. But Article 13 doesn't stop there. Beyond those basics, Article 13(2) mandates additional information to further empower data subjects. This includes how long you'll keep their data. If you can't give an exact period, then explain the criteria you use to determine that period, for instance, for the duration of your account plus 7 years for tax purposes. All their data subject rights. This is a big one. Individuals have the right to access their data, to have it corrected or erased, to restrict processing, to object to processing, and the right to data portability. You need to inform them of these rights. If you're processing based on consent, they have the right to withdraw that consent at any time, and you must explain this clearly. The right to lodge a complaint with a supervisory authority. This is their avenue for recourse if they feel their rights have been violated. Is providing data mandatory? You need to state whether providing the personal data is a statutory or contractual requirement, or necessary to enter into a contract. And importantly, what are the possible consequences if they choose not to provide that data? And finally, if you're using automated decision-making, including profiling, you must provide meaningful information about the logic involved and the significance and envisaged consequences for the individual. So, we know what to provide, but when and how is just as critical. The rule here is, no surprises. When? The information must be provided at the time the data are obtained. This means before or as the data is collected, not as an afterthought. Think of a clear privacy notice linked right on a sign-up form, or a pop-up that appears before you even start collecting cookie consent. How? The presentation is key. It must be concise, transparent, intelligible, and in an easily accessible form. This means no burying it in legal jargon or requiring a law degree to understand. Use clear and plain language that the average person can understand. And it must be provided free of charge. While written form is preferred, it can be electronic, and even oral if requested and identity is verified. Let's visualize this with a simple flow diagram. Imagine you, the data subject, initiate an interaction, maybe you sign up for a service, or visit a website. This interaction immediately triggers the responsibilities of the data controller, the organization. Crucially, before or at the time of data collection, the GDPR Article 13 requirements are triggered. The controller must provide all that information we just discussed, their identity, purpose, legal basis, recipients, retention periods, your rights, and so on. And how is this information delivered? It must be concise, transparent, intelligible, easily accessible, in clear language, and free of charge. The ultimate goal? For you, the data subject, to be informed and empowered about your data. Non-compliance isn't cheap. Article 13 violations can result in serious penalties. But more than fines, it's about trust. Remember, collect, inform, consent, respect. That's the Article 13 formula. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next video on Article 14. Until then, stay compliant and keep learning.